Beginner's Guide to Painting Shining Silver. Yo, dog, Kitty Bichet here, Next Level Painting, hitting you up on the literal best of all days, coming to you from the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California. We're doing it again. Today, we're going to be painting a Mantic miniature from their Kings of War line, the Steel Behemoth. We're going to break this video into 3 parts: primer, wash, and dry brush. We're going to keep it super beginner today, but I'm going to show even some of the veterans out there some ancient Chinese techniques. The Long War crew is coming to Temecula, wine country in SoCal. January 20th and 21st, 2018, the Long War Doubles GT. Registration is live right now. 2 days, 5 rounds. Bringing hobby back. 50% hobby score, 50% battle score. Should be a good time, guys. Let me just call it like it is, guys. This episode is brought to you by a couple of clutch individuals over on my Patreon page. First off, Daniel, Andrew, Jeremiah, Tobias, Hogg, Donald, Kenneth, Jody, Taniel, Michael, Jonathan, Jaster, Mike, and Andre. Thank you, guys. I cannot do it without you. Patreon is my VIP page for early and exclusive access to all these videos and more. Right out the gate, Army Painter priming system, Shining Silver. This is one of the OG cheats right here. We're just gonna prime the Steel Behemoth straight up. He's gray, now he's silver. That easy, guys. The priming system over there at Army Painter is amazing. They have 100% color match. We're using Shining Silver, and later that will come back into play with the actual war paint. But for now, we're just gonna make sure to get every nook and cranny on this Steel Behemoth totally sprayed down with this Shining Silver. Too easy. Always remember to flip them upside down. I do this before I put them on any kind of base, so just so I can get all up in there, get up in them guts. Here he is. That's just primer. Now we can start actually throwing some weather down on this guy. We're gonna do some dark tone, quick shade. This is another Army Painter product, one of my favorites. Quick shade mixing medium. We're gonna mix these together. You know, we're not scientists, so we don't know, but 50-50-ish. Maybe a little heavier on the dark tone. This will help spread it out a little bit. It won't be so aggressively dark. Now we're gonna just try to stay in motion here and get this entire dude washed. What you're trying to avoid here is oceans of dark tone, but it can't be helped in some areas. It's fine. We are going to be doing an aggressive dry brush here. We're doing the 1-2 punch. We're creating contrast. Step 1, make the dark areas darker with the wash. Step 2, make the bright areas brighter with the dry brush. It's going to be a weathered, sort of antiqued finish when we're done. So in some areas it can be a little bit blotchy because we're going to dry brush that right out. This is really fast. We're going to get a really nice finish. Now you can be as aggressive as you want. You can decide how antiqued the Steel Behemoth is, how dark it is. It's entirely up to you. Do you want to go heavy on the wash, maybe 2 washes? Very light on the dry brush? It's entirely up to you. We're going to be chasing more of a weathered, utilized war engine, but it has been maintained. So the darker antique areas are going to be in the more pitted areas, but most of it's going to remain shining silver. We might come in with grime effects later, weather it out by hand. But still, this is a beginner's guide to getting the metallics down, and you guys are going to see how easy this is. Really important, have a really big brush. I actually do use GW's, I think it's their glaze brush. See, it's one of the only brushes that actually get use out of as advertised from GW. Actually use it a lot. Push that dark tone around, get in every nook, every cranny. Maximize the coverage here, guys. That's why we use a lot of quick shade mixing medium. It helps with this, helps keep it wet, helps you be able to stay in motion. But once it starts drying tacky, you kind of have to let up. So the whole objective here, while staying in motion, is to also whip it away from any of those flat areas where it's pulling up and turning into an ocean, as we talked about. All right, let's get this, I don't know, butt skirt. I don't know what this thing is called. We're gonna just throw a bunch on this. Keep it heavy, keep in motion. You know, this might pull up in some weird areas, so maybe later on we'll hold it upside down for a few minutes to let it pull up into those that leaf armor. I don't know, I'm not an iron scientist. I don't know. I literally don't know what this is. This big dangling piece of armor that you always gotta cover the big nuggets. Gotta protect them. Looking good. It's looking like, I mean that's subjective. It looks like a sloppy mess of wash over some metallic. A lot of my models look like this until they're done. This is part of the next level painting system where we utilize clean execution of base coats, washes, execution of technique, highlight, get a good product for minimum effort. But we like to recycle that effort though. That's something I don't talk about a lot. Is if let's say you save 15-20 minutes by using these techniques, I'm not saying turn it into a paint job that's 15 minutes shorter than it was last time. I'm saying recycle those 15 minutes and punch something up you normally wouldn't. And you're, staying busy in the Beats Lab, utilizing your hobby time. So there we go. You can see it starting to dry out. You're starting to see that antiquing. See some of those areas right there, we're wicking it away, where it's drying kind of weird, pushing it around, shoving it into those little crevices. I think I'm going to give up on this task and just hold it upside down and hopefully it'll drain the right way. But ultimately, I'm not too worried about it because I said we're going to lean on a heavy dry brush here. Here it is, perfect color match, shining silver. This is the exact same color we primed it with. They guarantee a color match here. I'm going to use a big flat brush and we're going to aggressively dry brush this on using a paper towel. We're going to get the paintbrush relatively dry, but we are going to be using a combination of hard pressure and not that dry of a dry brush. Like not a wet dry brush, but definitely like a medium dry. We didn't dry it to the point where nothing was coming off. It was a little streaky still. And we are not worried about the pressure at which we're delivering the brushing. We're coming in hot. Best way to describe it. So you're trying to go against the grain whenever possible, but sometimes it's unavoidable. So meh. See up here, left, right, left, right. Then I'm gonna go up, down, trying to go against the grain, catch those edges. You see it's starting to slowly transform. It's turning into more of an antiqued finish where only the grime in the deepest recesses is still present. Like someone's polishing this thing, right? But it's so old and so used, it's not totally shiny. These are gonna be a fun thing right here. This McNugget armor. It's gonna catch the dry brush real easy. Lots of bolts on it, lots of edges. It's gonna start looking real good. You can kind of go left, right, up, down. You can go crazy on this, it don't matter. And anywhere we see the pulling getting aggressive, that's when we're gonna get even more aggressive with the dry brush. Wipe it out. And this is that contrast. We're catching those edges, creating a highlight because we did just tone it down with our dark tone. We're gonna leave dark tone in the deepest recesses, and we're gonna get a pretty solid metallic effect for minimal effort. There we go. Look at that. Got lots to do still in this model. Left to right, diligence, up, down. You want to make sure that your dry brush looks solid because that's the foundation in which you're going to build all the other effects off of. We're probably going to do some grime effects, maybe a little weathering effects, maybe a slight amount of rust in some clutch regions. But I think we're going to have a lot of fun pulling out the story, finding the recesses, making this steel behemoth look his absolute best. Then splash some colors into some of those armor panels. We're going to try to keep this project as much brushwork as possible. A lot of people have been asking for that, which is why we haven't pulled the airbrush out, and I cheated by using spray primer at the beginning that was silver. So, in line with our beginner's guide series. Coming out pretty good. Let's switch over to the face. This is going to be another fun one. Lots of great ridges on it. Lots of up downs and left rights here. Boom. Immediately changing the game right here. You see a little bit staining on the big surfaces. We're just wiping that out, getting aggressive. Same thing on his ram's horns right here. Lots of directions, left, right, up, downs. Catch all those ridges, wipe out any pulling. You don't have to worry about streaking because it's a perfect color match. It's gonna blend much better than if it was a totally different silver. Looking his best right here. Solid piece of metal right there. It's almost like you can forget it was made out of resin looking at it. Absolutely love this army painter system, but I'm also digging this steel behemoth from Kings of War. Y'all used to buy Mantic models all the time from my Chaos armies, man. I once bought 120 zombie kits from them, from my old Typhus army. Love these dudes. Check a look at this. Whatever this armor paneling on the inside is, real easy. I'm probably gonna throw some weathering up in there. There's a bunch of dudes that stand in there manning the guns. So obviously in a later video, we're gonna paint some dwarves up, put them in there, let them shoot them guns, and then we'll give this thing away to a lucky viewer over on Twitch, as we do. So it's just feathering it in now, guys. Now we're just finding the details. Anywhere we think it's not clean enough, or we can still see some spottiness or some weird dry patterns, we're just wiping it out. Gonna go crazy. But we are gonna upgrade it one more time. Like once we get all the dry brushing in, you know, it's time to find those details. You can start introducing even white to your metallics. Make them a white metal, and that'll help create even more contrast. You don't even have to switch to another silver. Like that's something people don't ever think about, is that you can still add black or white to your metallics. And you can see, look at that. Look at how much more. It's just pop, 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 all up on the ridges. Looking its best. Nice white metallic right here. Not too aggressive, but this is the spectrum we want to live in. This is a dwarven steam engine. It's maintained by its dwarves. Even though it goes into battle, gets beat up, gets grimy, it's still being maintained as best as they possibly can. So I think this is a solid compromise of weathering and antiquing to nice shining silver. Sometimes I do like to write a little narrative in my head for the model, what they do, what the maintenance is, what the battlefield role is. Get my nerd on. So just a bunch of the same exact dry brushing. We're doing everything we just did, but we added a little speck of white to the mix. Super easy. You see, it's not doing anything crazy. It's just making it a little bit more contrasty. It's catching those raged areas, blending into all the other dry brushing. Looking solid. Left, right, up, down. Find all those edges, every hard edge. Make it look its best. Too easy. See, he's got some wood paneling in there. Dude's grip and grain, man. We got lots of fun things that we still got to knock out on this dude. Totally feeling this model. I cannot wait to get them dwarves knocked out. Anyway, guys, play on, players.